Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, sticker shock as prices keep rising and rising. I'm going to bring you a look at some of the causes of the inflation we're seeing and why it may not be over anytime soon. Shouts of anger erupting at a school board meeting in Loudoun County, Virginia, as parents demand resignations from its leaders over the embracing of liberal practices and teachings like critical race theory and sexually explicit material. Plus, making sure Afghan refugees relocating to America aren't left alone and without help.
In good conscience, we can't walk away from those people. That's not American.
How churches across the country are among the first to welcome them and give them assistance. Also, a sneak peek at the Christmas movie from The Chosen with the creator of the series himself.
I love the story so much. It's my favorite time of year. I know that's a cliche, but it's true.
We'll hear about the film that celebrates the birth of Jesus. And the love of a teacher and her students spanning decades shines brightly during her greatest time of need. All those stories and more are next.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour with the soaring prices and the latest government indicators that they are not likely to ease up anytime soon. As the producer price index, which is inflation at the wholesale level, rose a big 8.6% last month over a year ago, matching the record set back in September. Gasoline prices helped drive up prices as well, and get ready for an expensive Thanksgiving, as nearly every part of the traditional Thanksgiving meal will cost more this year. That is according to a recent roundup from the New York Times. A major cause of those higher prices, bottlenecks in the supply chain, which has been hard to restart after the COVID shutdowns. Another factor still ahead, businesses are bracing for the impact of that vaccine mandate, including one industry that's vital in keeping our supply chain in motion, trucking. The mandate is another one potential sticking point in the bottleneck behind delays ranging from computer chips to toilet paper to Christmas gifts. CBN's Brody Carter brings us the story.
Truckers who move cargo are dropping in droves. Now there are concerns the administration's vaccine mandate will force even more truckers off the road.
Truckers are independent people thinking. Out here, you're counting on yourself. There's no one pushing you to go down that road.
That should be a personal choice on no matter who you are, no matter where you are, and no matter what you do.
This on top of President Biden's round-the-clock mandate last month, which some say won't work.
The misinformation, I think, was by saying, okay, Biden just ordered all the ports 24/7. That's going to solve the problem. No, it won't.
For 15 years, Captain Manny Aschmeyer oversaw our nation's largest port complex as executive director at the Marine Exchange for Southern California.
Answering that age-old question, has my ship come in? And we answer that question literally thousands of times a day.
Based on his experience, Captain Manny says the around-the-clock mandate only works if each part of the distribution chain plays by the same rules.
When you deliver that cargo to a distribution center or a warehouse or some guy's business, and they're not open, they're only open 8 to 5, then 24/7 doesn't help much because they can't leave that box there, or if they leave that box there, it sits.
The logistical nightmare certainly begins at the ports. If this map looks complicated, that's because it is. In this snapshot from a record-breaking day in October, these nearly 100 markers represent ships waiting to unload in the LA Long Beach port complex. Dozens more wait off the coast for room to get to port.
So you have a lot of things that are stacking on top of one another that's creating this glut of cargo coming to the States.
Backlogs began due to COVID shutdowns, which sparked massive warehouse layoffs. Then the hyper-buying of goods to restock shelves followed, leaving only limited staff to do the work.
Well, I would say every deadline's being missed. Many of them have been on their ships now for nearly 2 years, unable to get a relief. And that is a nasty reality.
Captain Manny says the real panic in the pantry comes from what's happening in the trucking industry.
The last mile in trade is the most critical. That's when it goes from the warehouse to the store shelf. And that's usually done by a truck.
California independent truckers are fighting an uphill battle with the state legislature. That's because Assembly Bill 5, which is intended to give Uber and Lyft drivers minimum wage and other benefits, also affects about half of the state's truckers. The bill stops them from operating their own rigs by their own rules.
And a lot of independent contractors simply took a hike and went to other ports around the country to work, or frankly got out of the business altogether.
Another hurdle is a California environmental group barring truckers from registering rigs built before 2010.
And suddenly you're telling a guy that's got a truck that's 10 and a half years old, they say, well, you can't use it anymore.
Given these restraints and driver shortages, Captain Manny says store shelves will sit bare past Christmas, and the cost of everything will continue going up.
The West Coast has evolved the way it has through no one's fault.
While that might be true, more trouble could lay ahead. Given the excessive backup in incoming cargo, contracts for about 15,000 West Coast dock workers are set to expire next summer. This as union workers fight the impact of automation, which is expected to increase at more terminals. I'm Brody Carter, CBN News.
Shouts of anger erupted at a school board meeting in Loudoun County, Virginia, Tuesday after a group of parents demanded the resignation of the board's chairman. Parents furious with the board's embracing of liberal practices such as critical race theory, also known as CRT, and transgender activism have been a source of contention for many in the district, along with covering up sexual assault by a transgender teen. Many parents oppose CRT, which they say is divisive and racist. Dennis Ebersole, the father of 3 current students, including 2 daughters, said it was his first time speaking before the board, but he felt he could no longer remain on the sidelines.
Parents are not going away. Our numbers are only growing. There is no way parents and teachers can trust LCPS under its current leadership. You've lied to us over and over again about CRT. You've lied to cover up sexual assaults, to advance your transgender radicalism. You've shut down public meetings without authority, and you demonize us as domestic terrorists. Enough is enough. The only way to heal this divided community and restore trust is to fire Superintendent Ziegler and remove the board members who created this mess.
Critical race theory is a Marxist philosophy and a cancer that spreads through the vehicles you've spent my taxpayer money on, like Second Step. You have activist teachers using it to indoctrinate their hate in kids who are at the mercy of their authority. That is child abuse, and you have no right to brainwash children into believing that their skin color supersedes the power of constructive life choices. And we've uncovered your books in our libraries, and they are laced with pedophilia and incest.
The parents group called Fight for School says it has compiled signatures to mount legal challenges to remove several members from the school board. A senior official with the Biden administration says at least some of the 17 missionaries kidnapped in Haiti last month are confirmed alive. Reuters reports the official, who didn't want to be identified, did not elaborate about what kind of proof he had seen or which members of the group were thought to still be alive. The missionaries are associated with Christian Aid Ministries, which posted a statement on its website Monday saying they, along with government authorities, are working hard to bring the missionaries home safely, adding, "Your prayers have been a lifeline of hope and encouragement for the families, for us at CAM, and no doubt for the hostages during the past several weeks. Keep praying." The Haitian gang, who claimed responsibility for their abduction, has demanded $17 million in ransom for their release. The kidnapped group included 5 children, their ages 3, 6, 14, and 15, with the youngest being just 8 months old. Coming up, from a country in crisis and in great need, Afghan refugees find help in America and from the faith community across our land. We're going to have the story for you when we come back. Afghan refugees are resettling in the United States, and churches across the country are leading the way to become among the first to welcome and help them. CBN Senior National Affairs correspondent Heather Sells reports from Fort Worth, Texas, on these faith communities that are welcoming the stranger.
I'm not a very good athlete. Refugees have been learning to speak English at Southcliffe Baptist for 20 years.
Early on, Bosnians learned a new language. Many of today's students come from a different war-torn land. Texas is preparing to receive more than 4,000 refugees from Afghanistan, and churches here have become part of the front lines in welcoming them.
South Cliff has always been there for the refugees.
Helmand Wardock and his family arrived 6 years ago. They're thriving in large part due to South Cliff. In addition to English classes, the church provides community and a safety net for those struggling to survive. After a 6-month honeymoon, their government housing and food allowance runs out.
What happens after is like the refugees mostly they are left by their own. So that's where the churches such as South Cliff, they come into action.
Across North Texas, hundreds of church volunteers have signed up and trained to help resettle those who fled Afghanistan. Northwood Church is sponsoring 3 families.
We're actually going to acquire 3 apartments and put those families up for 12 months.
April Hale volunteered to organize clothing needs after following Afghanistan on the news.
I found myself at home watching everything unfold, feeling helpless, and just wishing that I could find something to do to help them. When I found out that we were going to be able to help some families through our church, there it is. You know, that's my answer.
Her attitude may mark a shift in evangelical thinking towards refugees. During the Trump administration, the U.S. slashed the numbers allowed in to 15,000. That forced some faith-based agencies like World Relief to lay off staff and close offices. A 2018 Pew poll showing declining support for refugees among white evangelicals led many to wonder if the church was losing its vision for ministry. Now, the Biden administration plans to admit more refugees, and resettlement agencies are ramping back up. They're rehiring, recruiting volunteers, and stocking supplies. Next year, World Relief in North Texas will help resettle 4 times the number it did last year.
We are quickly expanding our offices, our staff.
Northwood pastor and World Relief partner Bob Roberts says he's seen an overwhelming response.
I think there's a shift that's taking place. We're coming back to who we are.
What's helped, a host of Christians with ties to ministries in Afghanistan, plus veterans.
The right response is we've been in the war. We have marginalized people to use them in the war in good conscience. We can't walk away from those people. That's not American.
South Cliff pastor Stu Kokenauer says refugees have changed his church.
We have persecuted Christians in this church that are just so grateful to be in a nation where they can worship Jesus without fear of the army busting in.
And churches are changing lives. Zahir, a former U.S. interpreter, fled Afghanistan in August with his wife and son.
Agency, they're providing, everything. Like they provide, like in the first, from the first day till now.
A church member co-signed for his apartment, and he's now looking for a job, any job. Wardock, meanwhile, is trying to help his 20 family members who worked with the U.S. government but can't get out of the country.
So we are just trying to talk to them, speak to them every day, just to calm them down.
As these refugees rebuild their lives here and try to help loved ones back home, they face plenty of risk and unknowns. One certainty, however, is the growing number of churches committed to helping them navigate a new culture while pointing them to the love of Christ. Reporting in North Texas, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Still ahead, we're hearing firsthand from the creator of The Chosen about the highly anticipated Christmas film coming to the big screen. We'll have the story for you right after this. Ticket sales are already setting records for a special Christmas film from the series The Chosen. I had the chance to sit down with the creator, Dallas Jenkins, to talk about the movie that's all about celebrating the birth of Christ.
Do you know where Luke is? I didn't tell him everything.
I feel like The Chosen began with Christmas. so are you obligated to honor Christmas every year?
I think that is a part of it. A few people have asked me, why are you doing a Christmas special? And I said, because that's what birthed The Chosen.
Joseph, we can't keep looking. He's coming.
And I love the story so much. It's my favorite time of year. I know that's a cliche, but it's true. And when we've got these artists and musicians who love the show and want to celebrate Jesus as well, and I think our fans, after they watch a season, they want to celebrate, they want to worship, they love and know Jesus more, so now what? And Christmas seems like this perfect opportunity for them to not only celebrate the story, but to bring friends.
Are you seeing this?
It's time.
This Christmas finale special that's happening, tell us about it. What's new about it? What's going to happen?
Yeah, well, we're bringing back some of the artists from last year. We've got some new artists. The music is extraordinary. I can't wait for it myself. I'm going to be worshiping my face off when it comes out. But the thing that really is exciting is we're doing a brand new episode of The Chosen.
Remember what your messenger said. The first thing.
The opportunity to tell the Christmas story again from a different perspective, from Mary and Joseph's perspective. People are going to see the reality of the birth of Christ with the manure, with the smells, with this teenage girl who was scared to death, and her husband who was also scared to death, but who were trying to honor what God asked of them. And I think that's a part of the story that we haven't always heard before, and so that's what I think is going to be really exciting about the special.
Don't be afraid.
That Jesus Christ is...
People must know.
What have these last few years been like?
Honestly, I haven't even had a chance to stop and think about it, really. I know that at each stage of The Chosen, I have tried desperately to remain surrendered. So watching the show grow, one of the cool things about it is it'd be like if the boy who provided the loaves and fish at the feeding of the 5,000 went home to his parents and said, I fed 5,000 people today, Mom. That would be ludicrous. He'd be like, I provided 5 loaves and 2 fish, and oh my gosh, Jesus did something crazy and multiplied them.
You are going to do 7 seasons? Is that?
7 seasons. We decided that last year. We know exactly how we're going to end it, and we've worked our way backwards. So 7 seasons seems like a nice number.
Do you have a favorite episode to date?
I do. Yeah, that's a good question. I think episode 4 of season 1 still remains, I think, the episode that means the most to me. And I think not only is it one of my favorites because of how the scene turned out. I remember the music, when I first heard the music from the composer, it was so different than what I expected. But also the filming of that scene just took so many miracles. So that was the climax of the first 4 episodes, which was how The Chosen was originally released. So there's always going to be a special place in my heart for episode 4 of season 1.
People love this. I mean, from the artists who are here today to anyone I meet and encounter who thinks I haven't seen The Chosen yet. What does that do to you? Why do you think they're gravitating toward it so?
I think what people are responding to the most with the show is what I'm responding to the most as I explore Jesus to make the show, which is his humanity. I believe Jesus was God and man. I don't ever want to detract from the fact that he did miracles and that he was the Son of God and that he is the Messiah. But when you focus on the fact that Jesus joked with his friends, that he danced at a wedding, that he dressed his wound, that he spoke with children, that he loved his mom, that his first miracle at the wedding was a favor for his friends because his mom asked him to. When you realize that the creator of the universe dwelt among us, which is Emmanuel, God with us, which is one of the reasons why I love Christmas so much. Emmanuel, God with us. I think that notion that God was with us as a man is what people seem to be responding to the most.
And we will have more from the Chosen Christmas film in the weeks ahead. Tonight on Studio 5, Tony Hale, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Bubba Watson, and Ahmad Rashad are all joining us for exclusive sit-down interviews. You can catch Studio 5 tonight at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel or on demand on the CBN News app. Coming up, a teacher's love for her students spanning decades and how they return the love as she battles with cancer. We're going to have her story for you when we come back. Stay with us. An elementary school teacher in Wisconsin who's battling stage 4 cancer recently received a heartwarming visit from some of her students. Carol Mack has taught first and second grade at Christ Lutheran School in Big Bend for some 45 years. She continued to teach while battling cancer until her condition advanced, causing her to enter hospice care. According to a Facebook post, in Milwaukee, 26 students stood outside the hospital entrance on Wednesday to sing worship songs to their beloved teacher. Fellow teachers and friends of the teacher arranged for her current and former students, including some of their parents, who she also taught, to gather for the special occasion before her hospice care begins. Mac says she was overwhelmed at this very special gift. She says that she hopes people will see how much she and her students love each other and their school community came together. Louisa Compols, a nurse on Mac's care team, says when she saw Mac and the children singing, it was the most rewarding thing. She says the care team was very blessed to be a part of it. Nicole Bartnick, an occupational therapist at Aurora St. Luke's, says Mac didn't have children of her own, but has more children than she could ever count, and says it's a true blessing to see so much love coming back to someone so selfless and deserving. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is exceed. Know this: God's will and his plan exceed even your wildest dreams and imagination. So dream big and watch him dream bigger. Imagine wild and see him see even wilder. With that word, make today a wonderful Wednesday and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make it a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.